Now in Chicago, there's been a change in their rules. Police officers will no longer be allowed to chase suspects on foot simply because the suspect has run away, if we're talking about minor offenses. So if under this policy, officers, they may give chase if they believe a person is committing or about to commit a felony, a Class A misdemeanor such as domestic battery, or a serious traffic offense like drunken driving or street racing, the sorts of things that could risk injuring others. But in lesser offenses, they will no longer be able to. So officers won't be allowed to chase people on foot if they suspect them of minor offenses like parking violations, driving on suspended licenses, or drinking alcohol in public. But they will still have discretion to people who they've determined are committing or about to commit crimes that pose an obvious threat to persons. So that makes perfect sense. Officers are also prohibited from provoking chases, like employing a tactic in which they speed in their squad cars towards a group of people, stop suddenly and jump out with the intention of stopping anyone in the group who flees. That is to some extent sort of entrapment in that case. And most significantly, the policy makes clear that the days of officers giving chase just because someone tries to avoid them are over. So that is good. Now, why is this important? Well, because the chases do pretty frequently lead to people being killed. A third of police shootings started with foot chases, according to an analysis by the Chicago Tribune. So some of that might go away. They are no longer going to be tracking people down at all costs in a way that might result in people being killed because of incredibly minor offenses. Ida, what do you think about this change?
I think that anything headed in the positive direction is a good thing. Our justice system, it needs to be gutted out and we need to start from scratch, but we'll take it. I think we have a serious problem with law enforcement. People love to use Chicago as an example. That Chicago is always being used as an example about violence and what's happening where, it's just sad to hear that we have to think about these things, but I'm tired of giving props to people for doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like,
yeah, I know.
I come from a household where getting an A was like, good job, but not like, hey, you just did something. It's like, aren't you supposed to be doing well in school? Like the same rules apply to everybody, not just children, good citizens. It should apply to governors, senators, law enforcement, police officers, firefighters. Like you don't hear the stuff you hear about firefighters that you hear about cops.
Yep.
So I just think like, all right, then that's a good step in the right direction. Stop killing black and brown people. Stop killing poor people that you never hear about because the press doesn't cover white people who get killed by the cops because it doesn't incite riots. Stop killing people, stop killing people with mental illness. Stop trying to kill people as soon as you encounter them, instead of trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with them and what is going on. Those are human beings, just like you want to go home to your family. Those people's families want them to go home to them too. And if they're criminals, there's a place for them and it shouldn't be a grave.
Yeah, 100%. And look, some conservatives will respond, well, then people will just run away. They'll get away with it. Well, first of all, you can track people down in a way that doesn't involve foot chasing them through an urban area with a gun. You could do that. Also, let's be clear. Most of the people responding that way have always been fine with some people running away. If the cops crash an underage party and they run away, I don't think most people were like, this is a major injustice. Yeah. They've been okay with certain types of things. It's these, when they imagine the sort of criminal gets away with things, I'm going to guess that there are certain characteristics that they mentally apply to that potential criminal. That's all I'm going to say about that.
They have
less people
cameras
being shot is a good thing.
I'm
Exactly.
sorry.
There are other ways to find them. By the way, I apologize that I don't remember this individual's name. I wish that I should, considering how important it is. But there are so many people who are gunned down in this country that I can't remember them all. But I remember us covering a video of a guy being pulled over. He gets out of his car and he runs away. It had been a traffic violation. He gets out of his car and runs away, and they shot him in the back and killed him.
Yep.
Because he might get away.
Yeah.
And he might get away with the crime he was committing, some sort of traffic violation. So they killed him. Can we not? That seems to me to be a little bit more of an injustice than some petty criminal getting away with something. But what do I know?
I mean, but you know what? And every time they do these things, because they want to keep us distracted by saying, "Look what we did." That we have a serious issue with law enforcement and their misuse of power and abuse, and it has a lot to do with their training and their circumstances. Because they're also people who are also struggling, blue collar workers, and also being tossed into the fire by the politicians above them that use them as a pawn. But we also have a serious issue with white supremacists that have infiltrated law enforcement, which the FBI has confirmed. But it was like we talk about this stuff and we see Philando Castile told you he had a gun, had a baby in the car, and they still shot him and killed him. So it's like, even if you do say we're not gonna chase people anymore, do you really think that's going to decrease the number of people getting murdered, wrongfully murdered by people who want to kill them by any means necessary?
Yeah.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.